Friends, have you ever stopped to think about how much we rely on metal? It's everywhere. Your phone, your car, even the zippers on your clothes. Now, imagine a world where all that metal vanished. Poof, gone in an instant. What would happen? It sounds like science fiction, but the consequences would be very real. Buildings would crumble, cars would skid to a halt, our entire way of life would grind to a standstill. We'd be thrust into chaos, facing a world without the materials that underpin our modern existence. Think about it, no more skyscrapers piercing the clouds, no more airplanes soaring through the sky. We'd lose bridges, trains, and even bicycles. Transportation as we know it would cease to exist. The disappearance of metals would be more than just an inconvenience. It would be a cataclysmic event, throwing humanity into disarray and forcing us to confront a stark new reality. The initial impact would be swift and brutal. Skyscrapers, held aloft by steel skeletons, would buckle and collapse. Bridges would snap like twigs, sending cars and trucks plummeting into the water below. Air travel would halt instantly. Planes, stripped of their metal components, would fall from the sky. Millions would be stranded, their journeys cut short by the sudden absence of this essential material. Those lucky enough to be in their homes wouldn't be spared from the chaos. Electrical grids would fail, plunging cities into darkness. Plumbing systems would rupture, leaving homes without water. The world as we know it, built upon a foundation of metal, would crumble around us. The conveniences we take for granted would be gone, leaving us to face the harsh realities of a metal-less existence. Without metal, we'd be thrust back centuries, forced to rely on primitive materials. Wood, stone, and bone would become our new building blocks, just like in the Stone Age. Imagine constructing houses from logs and mud, or crafting tools from sharpened stones. Forget about smartphones and laptops. Communication would revert to smoke signals and carrier pigeons. Farming, too, would become a monumental challenge. Without metal plows, tractors, or harvesting equipment, we'd be tilling the land with sticks and hauling crops by hand. Food shortages would quickly become the norm. The disappearance of metal would erase centuries of progress, forcing us to relearn the ways of our ancestors and adapt to a simpler, more arduous way of life. Section 4. Powerless and in the dark. The loss of metal wouldn't just affect our physical infrastructure, it would cripple our energy systems. Power plants, reliant on massive turbines and generators, would fall silent, plunging the world into darkness. Renewable energy sources, often touted as the future, wouldn't be spared either. Solar panels, wind turbines, even hydroelectric dams all rely heavily on metal components. Without electricity, our homes would become dark and cold. Refrigerators would cease to function, spoiling food within hours. Hospitals, stripped of their life-saving equipment, would struggle to care for the sick and injured. Our dependence on electricity has made it an indispensable part of our lives. Its sudden absence would be devastating, leaving us vulnerable and exposed in a world without light or power. Section 5. Adapting to a metal-less existence. Humanity is nothing if not resourceful. Faced with this unprecedented challenge, we'd undoubtedly search for ways to adapt. Scientists and engineers would work tirelessly to develop new technologies using alternative materials. We might see a resurgence in the use of wood and stone, but these materials have limitations. Wood is flammable and susceptible to decay, while stone is heavy and difficult to shape. Plastics made from oil could potentially replace some metal components. However, the production of plastics requires complex machinery and energy, both of which would be in short supply. Ironically, even if we could find suitable substitutes, we'd likely need metal to extract, process, and manufacture them. The paradox of needing metal to replace metal would be a significant hurdle in our quest for adaptation. Section 6. The mystery of the missing metals. Now, here's where things get really interesting. What if the disappearance of metals wasn't a natural phenomenon? What if it was something else? Imagine for a moment that an unknown force, perhaps an advanced alien civilization, decided to collect all the metal on Earth. Why would they do such a thing? Maybe they need it for their own purposes, or perhaps they see humanity's reliance on metal as a threat. Whatever their reasons, the sudden vanishing of this crucial element would leave us with more questions than answers. This theory, while speculative, adds a layer of intrigue to an already perplexing situation. It forces us to consider the possibility that we are not alone in the universe, and that our actions have consequences beyond our comprehension. Section 7. A test of our ingenuity. The disappearance of all metals would be a defining moment for humanity. It would test our resilience, our ingenuity, and our ability to adapt to unimaginable circumstances. Could we overcome the challenges of a metal-less world? Could we rebuild our societies, develop new technologies, and find new ways to thrive? Or would we succumb to the chaos, our civilization crumbling without the materials that have shaped our existence for millennia? The answer, my friends, lies in the unknown. But one thing is certain, the disappearance of metals would be a wake-up call, a stark reminder of our dependence on the natural world and the fragility of our existence. It's a thought-provoking scenario that compels us to appreciate the resources we often take for granted and to ponder the mysteries that lie beyond our understanding.